This is the Chefs Without Restaurants podcast with your host, Chris Spear. Each week, I'll be speaking with food entrepreneurs and people in the culinary industry. If you're interested in learning more about our organization dedicated to helping people build and grow their food businesses, look us up on the web at chefswithoutrestaurants.com and .org, and on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Chefs Without Restaurants. Now, enjoy the show. Welcome to the Chefs Without Restaurants podcast. I'm your host, Chris Spear. On the show, I have conversations with culinary entrepreneurs and people in the food and beverage industry who took a different route. They're caterers, research chefs, personal chefs, cookbook authors, food truckers, farmers, cottage bakers, and all sorts of culinary renegades. I myself fall into the personal chef category, as I started my own personal chef business, Perfect Little Bites, 11 years ago. And while I started working in kitchens in the early 90s, I've literally never worked in a restaurant. Hello, Chefs Without Restaurants listeners. I hope everyone's having a great holiday season. We're in the last week of 2021, and I hope 2022 is an amazing year for all of you. I don't have a new conversation this week, but I want to give you a couple updates. On a personal note, I threw out my back a couple weeks ago. It's not been great. I'm going to the chiropractor 3 times a week. So I haven't been around as much on social media interacting with people. I haven't been doing any interviews at all. But I've had back problems since I was 12, and I'm sure that it's going to hopefully work itself out. So I'm going to be taking a hiatus from the show in January of 2022, much like I did this past January. I've had almost 50 amazing conversations with you all this past year, and I'm going to take the next month to record some more episodes and get them ready, and the show will be back on Tuesday, February 1st. There's still time to sign up if you want to be on the show. You can DM me on Instagram, message me on Facebook, or just shoot me an email to chefswithoutrestaurants@gmail.com. If you've got a great story to tell, I would love to have a conversation with you and get it out there. Also, I'm continuing to look for sponsors for the show. If you've got a business and want to sponsor the show, I'd love to hear from you. If you know of someone who maybe would be a good fit and you think you can connect us, I would love for you to do that. And then if you want to support the show and the organization financially, you can back us on Patreon or send donations via Buy Me a Coffee or Venmo. All that information is in the show notes as well. Any of the money I'm receiving is going back into the costs associated with producing the show and running the organization. And speaking about the organization, if you don't know much about it, Chefs Without Restaurants actually started as a community where I wanted to help other food entrepreneurs build and grow their businesses. So some of the things we do is we have a private Facebook page where we're sharing both gig opportunities and best practices to run a small food business, whether that be personal chef, caterer, food truck operator, or just offer support if you work as a cookbook author or work in R&D, but build a big community around that. So if you go to chefswithoutrestaurants.org, there's some quick links. One is going to be to the newest episode of the podcast, plus the podcast in general, but you'll also find a link to our private Facebook group. Additionally, there is a chef database. If you want to put your info in, I use this info to help connect you with consumers. So if someone reaches out to me looking for a caterer in San Diego, I can hopefully connect, the customer with you if you're a chef who works in that area. And there's also a link to sign up for our mailing list. I usually send them out weekly at most, just kind of with new information about anything going on, some best resources that I've collected from other members of the community. There's always links to the newest podcast. Sometimes we do gear recommendations and interviews. So if that sounds good, go to chefswithoutrestaurants.org where you can find quick links to those 5 things. I want to thank you all so much. I've had an amazing year doing this. I've had some great conversations with people. I really love what I'm doing. I'm looking forward to this next season and continuing to connect with you, even if you're not a guest on the show, connecting via Instagram, Facebook, emails. It's been great. And I really hope to meet so many of you in the real world, hopefully in this next year. I want to continue doing Chefs Without Restaurants collaborative pop-up events in person, which is something I wanted to do the past 2 years, but COVID. And a quick side note, in the month of January, I might be releasing some quick 5-minute mini episodes. I also might be re-releasing some of my favorite episodes, potentially remastering them. We'll all see how things go with time and everything, but stay tuned for that. And I hope everyone has a safe, happy, healthy new year, and I will talk to you again soon. And now a word from our sponsor, Savory Jobs. Are you shocked at what it costs to post a job ad? Instead, imagine a job site for restaurants only, where you could post as many jobs as you wanted, and it only cost $50. Not for each job you post, but for all the jobs you post, for an entire year. Well, my sponsor, Savory Jobs, has made that a reality. They've launched a revolutionary, easy-to-use job site just for restaurants. And it only costs $50 for unlimited job posts for an entire year. Plus, for our loyal listeners, use the code SAVORY10 and get 10% off. That's SAVORY10. So go to savoryjobs.com and discover the job site that's shaking up the restaurant industry. Forget the big corporate sites like Indeed and Monster. Join the revolution at savoryjobs.com and remember to use code SAVORY10 for 10% off. And now, on with the show. Thanks so much and have a great week.
Thanks for listening to the Chefs Without Restaurants podcast. And if you're interested in being a guest on the show or sponsoring a show, please let us know. We can be reached at chefswithoutrestaurants@gmail.com. Thanks so much.